let's start with the obvious question. What's wrong with media today?
Yeah, I think three things happened over the last 30 years. The first is the core models that funded journalism for years. Classified ads, well, they got taken up by the internet. Traditional advertising got taken up by the internet. When social media became so powerful an audience, advertisers flocked to social media and they left the news media behind. So the first thing is their business model began to erode and they did not adapt. So it's the classic Darwinian moment. When your business model rolls, you either adapt to the new marketplace or you shrink. And as they shrunk, journalist organizations began to fall into two bad habits. And I think the first is they chased clicks because a click meant at least you'd get maybe a little bit more revenue. And the effort to chase clicks grew the temptation to be first rather than right, and to be biased and provocative rather than to be neutral and allow the American people to make up their own minds, because your original role is just to give people facts, let them make up their minds. But the chase of clicks made people want to become more provocative to make sure they got that click. That began to erode the neutrality of the industry. And then the third part is that social media also did something that in my generation of reporters when I started, you didn't do. If I ever expressed an opinion in the 1980s newsroom of the Associated Press, I would have been walked out the door. I mean, even if it wasn't in a story, if I did it in the newsroom, they would have fired myself and walked me out of the office, because of that generation of journalists, whatever our personal views were, we didn't bring them in the second we crossed the threshold to the newsroom. Social media gave journalists their own voice independent of their news organizations. And all of a sudden, journalists became their own media stars, and then they became their own interpreters. And then over time, they adapted into, we're smarter than you, so we're going to tell you Americans what to think. And those three dynamics took an industry that generally you could count on to get accurate information. And now you got an incredibly amount of inaccurate information and often biased. And the American people became frustrated and the cycle began.